Welcome back to Tea and Stuff. As usual, I'm Jeff, and today I have a very special guest, Mr. Don May. People usually know who you are, so not too much introduction is needed. But I guess we'll start off with just saying hello, and what are you drinking?
Hello, Jeff. Nice to see you again, and hello to everybody listening, watching out there, wherever you may be. It's like 7 p.m. here, so I'm winding down. I am going to be hitting some Jungle Starlet, which is a ripe pu'er from Linsang. So that's what I'm going to hit. And maybe, depending on how things develop, I was looking in my cupboard just before. I'm going to reach over. I was looking in my cupboard just before coming in here to speak to you, and I saw this, and it just says, "Keep tin for Celine." That's all it says on it. So I thought, what the hell is that? Right. So I opened it, and look, she's just got like some aging silver needle here. So I thought, you know what? And then I see a note on the back that says, "Aging since 2015." So I'm like, hey, we got some 6-year-old silver needle. So you never know. Depending how things go, that might get broken out a bit later.
I know you sent me a little of one of your self-aged silver needles one time when you sent an order out my way, and oh my God, it was phenomenal.
It's remarkable. It's remarkable how you can age, and I didn't think it would be that great in London, but it's actually pretty good.
You have been, I mean, I feel like I haven't talked to you in a long time, but it's not like you've been vacant. My God, you've been like pumping out videos, you've been pumping out products. I mean, holy crap. It is sometimes head spinning. It's in a good way. It's just like,
well, you know, the scary thing, Jeff, is actually I've been we're behind schedule.
Oh no.
Yeah.
In terms of just like orders, or
no, in terms of releases. No, I mean in terms of our plans, releases, and all the things. And the reason for that is I know, yawn, but COVID delays are just causing major upheaval in logistics. So just getting our tea is just taking so much longer. So I'm glad that you feel that way, because from my side of the table, it's like I've got all these amazing teas and I'm just like waiting for them to arrive, you know? So it's sort of frustrating for me.
Well, yeah, if you know what's on deck, you know what I mean? Like that is going to cause a little bit of jitter and anxiety, good anxiety. Yeah, man. So how's everything going at the tea shop? Is everything not, is everything just rolling, or is it staggered?
Rolling. It's difficult. It's very, very difficult. I mean, tourism is just sort of opening up here. And we do rely on a lot of the international tea heads to head over to our place. Obviously, we've got, our set of UK people, but even then, just the high street, and this is probably just an echo of what's going on around the world. But, people have gotten used to being locked up in their home and ordering stuff online, and getting people to sort of come out is it's not actually a big surprise to me. I've been sort of saying that this was going to be a problem from day one, but it is frustrating. And so, it's difficult at the moment with the tea house. Not going to lie, but we're hanging in there, and we've got a very unique setup in that I've got a business that sort of has many different arms. So when one part isn't doing so well, the other part backs it up, and we hope that the opportunity is going to come for the favor to be reciprocated a bit later on. So we'll see what happens, but yes, anybody coming to London, please come and visit us, because we certainly would love to see you.
It seems like such a routine question, or like everybody's going to have the same answer, but honestly, with people I know in the tea industry, it's been a real wild card as to how they're doing right now. Like I don't know if you saw, just a few days ago, I went and met with family in Saratoga, New York, and I stopped at this tea room there that I've been wanting to stop at forever, called the Saratoga Tea and Honey Room, and not only do they source, you know, single lot, all like single origin of all the types of tea, but they also do their own infused and like rare sourced honeys.
Oh, nice.
And it's only like 2.5 hours. But it's 2.5 hours to the country from where I am. So if you're going there, you're kind of going there. There's nowhere else really along the way.
Yeah.
But I went in there, and I think I got there around 10:30, 11 a.m. They had been open since I think 9, and they were quite busy. And in the best way. Not only was it busy, and you know they're getting, so it's good. They're making money. You know, it's good. Hearing what people were ordering got me giddy. I mean, dude, I can't tell you how many old upper class white women ordered chou puer. Dude, it was. I'm sitting there just like they call out the drink, and then I like look over to see like, oh, who got it. And it's just like, you know, these like old white fogies, but they're like sitting there, they're drinking their Da Hong Pao, they're drinking, and so I'd heard very good things, but I always go into a tea room experience with let's just not have too high expectations. Let's just look to enjoy ourselves and have a good cup of tea. Just so that way you're never really disappointed. Like it's just you never want to build it up too much.
Sure.
And, I got Shanlin Shi, and an Ali Shan, and they were, I mean, really high end. Like, I told the owner, I gave her so much praise. I was like, that is the best quality Taiwanese oolong I've ever gotten in a tea room. Like it just.
And how did they serve it? Did they serve it Taiwanese style, or how would they?
You could get it many different ways. I got it just with a like a big ceramic, not big, but ceramic teapot, and like they had a little cage that went down in it, but it gave enough room for the leaves to fully open up and all that. They asked me if I wanted to switch to a gaiwan, but at that point I was already 2 steeps in, and I was like, this is more than fine. But I'll tell you, the flavor, the texture, the aroma, it was just so pleasant. And then the owner is like, if you have time to do a honey tasting. And I'm like, oh, that sounds fun. And you know, you expect there's going to be like a wildflower. There's going to be a couple like flavored infused ones. But then Don, holy crap.
Yeah.
She brought out honeys. One was as dark as molasses. The flavors were as deep as aged puer. The types of flavors were flavors I've never experienced with honey before. It was such a wonderful extra just cap to the experience, and it was just like, wow, this woman, not only is she doing the tea right, but she's doing this honey, which is like, I have to scream to the rooftops about. So it was very, very impressive. And again, it was beautiful to see how busy they were, just pretty much doing straight origin teas.
It's great.
And the price also wasn't exorbitant. It was I can't remember the exact, but very fairly priced. So it was.
And were the honeys raw honeys?
I believe so.
I mean, I had a bit of a moment. When was this? I can't remember. About 6 or 7 years ago, and similar to you, where somebody said, "Do you want to try some honeys?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." You know, heather honey, lavender honey. You know, and then they give you these honeys that you're like, oh my God, like that is flavor profiles that you've never experienced in honey before. So broad in their sort of differences from like the deep and the dank and the sort of, you know, quirky to, you know, ethereal, high, floral, beautiful, you know. And I was at that point just like, okay, honey is one that I could probably get very, very deep into. But it's not that easy to find. You have to find the right sources for that, and that's a whole other area of exploration.
So what I'm gonna do is because I have to shout this from the rooftops, because if you're around Saratoga, you don't know about that place and you like tea, you're out of your mind. So I told her I want to go and do a video, her doing a honey tasting for like Cassandra and I. Because Cassandra wasn't with me. I just went by myself. So it would be completely new for her. But I mean, she didn't even sample me all of her honeys. And I think I did like maybe 12.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
I
enough.
I knew there would be differences. I knew some would be lighter, some would be darker, but I was
Yeah.
just swept off my feet in just the most beautiful way. So
No,
it was
honey is
quite.
deep. Honey is deep, and it's another one of those commodities that a lot of everyone knows, but do you really know until you've had a tasting like that? It is very deep. It's actually like my father-in-law is a beekeeper, where he makes his own honey, and just tasting his honey is just like, oh my god, it's a world away from anything. And we actually have London honey. Well, it's not that surprising, but there's a park close to us called Regent's Park, and there's a single estate. I mean, single park honey, which is so expensive, but is just unbelievable. Yeah, it is remarkable, and it stands to reason, isn't it? I mean, you're talking about such an interesting journey from the creation of all of these aromatics in the flower to the pollinators, and then the way that it's processed afterwards is, yeah. I get you on the honey. I would love to attend one of those tastings myself.
So it was just such an experience. It was like, I have to share this. At least help do a way
Why
to
don't you stock
advertise it.
some at the store, like little
Oh God. Oh
honey tea
God.
combos?
They're on that. They're on
Have you ever
that. I don't
have you ever had tea honey?
know.
Oh
What is, I mean, obviously involves tea, but
no,
how
so
is it?
from the tea flower. So honey made from the tea flower. Yeah,
Ooh.
it's actually quite citrus. Bizarrely, you wouldn't expect it, but it's almost got like a lemon balm, lemon oil sort of note to
Oh.
it. It's really, really nice. It's quite medicinal tasting, but quite citric. Like, it's the kind of honey that you think about when you have a cold. People might offer you like lemon and honey in hot water. You could
Mhm.
literally put the honey in hot water, and you would feel like someone squeezed the lemon in. It's like that. It's really, really good. I've got a tiny bit left. I'm sort of
That's
protecting it.
there's man that'll have to get put on my list. I'm before I die, I have to try a Taiwanese pineapple. Like, that's
Oh
high
my
up on my
god,
list.
you
That's
really do.
high. I mean, I had my own feelings about how extraordinary it would be before you guys did a video where you, like, a farmer like chopped it up right there and you like snacked on it. But then after like listening to you guys describe it, it was like, yep, that's what my brain is. That's where it's going to. And
Yeah.
oh gosh, just Taiwanese. I would just like to. I hear so many good things about people that go to Taiwan. Um, Often what I hear people talk about the most is the food in terms of like the vegetables, the fruits, like just how much flavor there is. Um,
Any
and then
particular dishes that often get talked about in your circles? It's like the classic beef noodle soup, and
pop. I'm a big fan of Taiwanese popcorn chicken. Like,
yeah,
I made it for myself the first time like last month. It didn't come out perfect, but it came out really, really good. Um, I don't like seafood, so pretty much that limits me with Taiwanese to like pork and chicken.
yeah.
But
But yeah, I mean, the produce there is really, really good. I mean, as you can tell by the tea,
do you
and the
have you
pineapples are very, very special for sure.
do you have any plans yet of when, or if you're trying to head abroad in any way for tea?
No, we're taking it every day at a time. I mean, we're clearly not in the right season right now, unless I wanted to go hunting for autumn teas. So, I think we're going to sort of review in probably January, February, see what the
Yeah.
situation is, and see, where we might want to head for something that's probably going to be not as intense as our usual trips. And it's also a big question as to whether or not, I go with the family or just go by myself. So that's something that is going to be decided. We'll see how Ayana's doing and how she's,
Yeah.
if we feel like it's just going to be, the last thing that we want to do is just be tearing our hair out, trying to, I mean, those trips are hard enough as it is with just, the two of us, but having a 2.5-year-old at the same time, that might just push us over the edge.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
If you mix, like, that's like one of those examples of like when business and personal life just can have serious conflict. Um, I've been having a lot of that kind of stuff lately. I've been having a lot of like personal me and then business me are at each other's throats. Like personal me wants to do things this way, but then business me is like, but you have to remember X, Y, and Z. And it's just been this like,
Are you talking about actually uh, regarding decisions around your business? Are you having a conflict in sort of like the personal you and the business you, or is it literally the personal you is saying, I want time to do other things, and the business side is saying, no, I've got to focus on my work?
it's weird. It's like I want to go and have these like do little trips and adventures and include tea and do this filming and stuff.
Yeah, yeah,
But then when I get there, you also kind of want to be in the moment. But so then what I try to do is do both. And I try to, but then I'll be filming or whatever, and I'll be looking at what I'm filming, and I'm like, this isn't a good shot. What am I doing with this? Okay, I'm gonna have a
yeah,
couple shots of us in this shop, but then what's the
yeah,
narrative to that? And so
yeah,
then I
yeah,
just get super pissed off and frustrated because I'm just like now I'm like, oh, I've wasted my time, and
yeah.
so it's
Yeah, that is one of those things. And you're right. I mean, every time we do that kind of thing, we're traveling and we're doing filming, you know, we have to clearly set about, okay, now this is personal time, and now this is, and usually there's a lot of journeying in between. So in between, you're sort of whatever, sleeping, chatting, having fun. And then I always look at Celine when we pull up to a farmer's place. I just look at her and say, "Game face, let's move." And she knows that means right. I'm. She knows that means that I've moved into business mode, and or business mode. I moved into let's get the footage now, and let's not like go away feeling frustrated that we didn't get what we wanted here. Right? We're going to taste tease. We're going to find out everything, and she knows it's just going to be for the next 6 hours, 8 hours. It's going to be full on, and then there's going to be a time where we're just going to go right, stop. You have to, because if you do it halfway, you neither have fun or you or you're productive. So it just doesn't work.
it's funny though. A lot of people see that as like almost like you must be like one of those two is the true you, and then the other one you're faking. But with me, it's not. Like I have both. Like I'm very business sharp, but I like to be casual, and those are just completely contrasting. So it really isn't a surprise that I have conflict. It's just how do I still plan these like fun like kind of video trips and be able to include friends and Cassandra and yes have fun but still get a certain bottom line taken care of. And I've been having trouble lately uh figuring out that putting getting a good enough plan together is to execute at least enough to where I know I'm going to have something that's meaningful. Like I just keep getting caught in the moment of like, what am I doing?
Yeah, no, I know. I think that, I mean, you do your own editing, right?
Yeah.
And that's really important, I think, because as you do more and more of your own editing, you kind of know which shots you need. you
Yeah.
know Oftentimes when I'm in the mountains, I am literally editing it in my head. I'm going, oh wait, hold on, there's nothing that's going to join that scene to that scene. I need to do a bit here about this, otherwise people are not going to get. And so oftentimes, actually, I'll be sort of late night in the hotel room, kind of thinking about how the day went, what we got, what we didn't get, and sort of almost scripting it, going, okay, hold on a minute. So I've got this scene, I've got that scene. I need something, and then I'll tell Celine, all right, tomorrow we've got to get up early. We've got to go to that location because I need to do a bit there, and I think that you editing is crucial, because if you're not editing it, then you're not going to know what you need.
No, luckily that's how I grew up, just doing everything myself. Like every single part of the production I did myself. So luckily I was already used to doing that. Honestly, I really wouldn't be able to handle it. I mean, there'd have to be a pretty talented person. Not saying that I'm ultra talented.
No,
But
no, I get it.
I would to be comfortable. I'd have to have somebody who's a real all-star under me.
Yeah. No, I'm the same. I mean, I put a video every week, and I still edit them all, and I'm constantly being told, because the edit takes longer than the shoot, obviously, just getting all the footage in and then color correcting it and then, getting, piecing it together and all the rest of it. It takes much longer. And often people say to me, why don't you get an editor? And yeah, on the face of it, you could say, well, yeah, I mean, it's just me talking to a camera. It's not like a complex edit, but at the same time, I sort of feel like I know what cues I want to hit, and I know what T heads would probably want to see at certain points. And I have experimented with editors, but it's always just me re-editing it anyway. So I'm just like, why am I paying somebody, waiting longer, and then just re-editing it anyway? It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it becomes more work than. I have obviously such admiration that it's so hysterical. Well, you work against yourself in the way of how, when your finished video is so polished and so like in a good way produced, that it looks, I mean, perfectly smooth. Like it just looks so smooth, and the way you speak is so effortless at how it comes off when you're watching your videos, that I think it's easy for people that don't know anything about video editing to assume that, like, oh, he's just really good at it. Like he just sets it up. It's just, and then he bangs it out. But it's like, I know that because you've shown your bloopers, you definitely have the reshoots.
Yeah. And, thankfully, as time goes on, you get better at nailing nailing what you want to say. And the editing gets a little bit easier, but then that's always offset by, I want it to look a different way, or let me get another camera. And it's sort of like you never actually reduce the workload, you just sort of replace it with something else. And yeah, I mean, in terms of the teacher videos, those are big edits. I mean, those are usually sort of 3, 4, 5 day non-stop with lots and lots of gong fu tea by my side, just sipping away and editing, because you've got hours of footage that you need to sort of, piece together and figure out how to do. But, I do love that. I love the act of finishing things. I think this is one of the secrets to success, not my success, but success in general. And where I see a lot of people who are very talented not quite meet their potential is just finish things, even if you're not happy with it, just finish it. Because like the act of leaving something open-ended and unfinished, that's a heavy weight around you. Like the act of finishing is the act of learning. It's the act of informing what happens next. It is what is required for the next step. And yet you see a lot of people with lots of projects that they start and none of them finish. And there's something beautiful about the creativity and the safety of I'm working on projects. It's much harder to say I am finishing a project. And that's what the YouTube videos give me every week. Whoops, are you still there?
No, I'll be right. Oh, sorry, I forgot to warn you about that. It's just okay. The webcam utility isn't great.
Okay. Yeah, and I think that's what the YouTube videos give me every week. It forces me to start and finish something and get it out. And despite Celine's protestations, like, why don't you just take a week off? I'm like, no, I'm not taking a week off. I am going to start and I'm going to finish a video and I'm going to put it out. And so, yeah, I think that finishing is a really important part of the creative process.
Yeah, that's you've given me that advice numerous times over the years in different situations, and it always is one that resonates with me because it's like you said, like it's like I could when I was starting the podcast and I was trying to figure out what it is, what direction to go in. It's like I'd shoot something and I'd be like, no, 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 that's not it. And I shoot something and I go, no, 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 that's not it. And then it was just like, well, you have to get it out there to A, figure out what you want it to be, but then see what people get from it, what they like and don't like. And then you can use that to build off.
Yeah. And it gives you a sense of completion, which I think is a not often talked about as a way to motivate you to work. That sense of it's done, it's out. There's product here. And I think that's really important. And something that I crave. And I think that's what drives me forwards.
I had a really super interesting. I asked during my live session today. I was just like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna have Don on today for the podcast," and I was like, "Does any of you guys have any? Can you think of any good questions you want to shoot at me?" And someone asked. I'm sure you're not gonna like love answering this one, but don't worry, it'll be good. They asked, "How aware are you of how?" I know you're probably like, "Oh my God, what's he gonna say?" How aware are you of your stature in the T world? Like, I know that you're not the end all. Like Don May isn't the T world in himself, but I mean, how much do you acknowledge? It'd be hard to not acknowledge that you have definitely made some amazing strides. Like, how do you see that?
I thought you were going to ask a much more difficult question than that. The truthful answer, and it is the truthful answer, is I don't really think about it that much, and I don't really. I'm certainly not trawling the internet to find out what people are saying about me, or unless it's thrown in my face, which happens, from time to time, as you are very well aware. Where suddenly there's something that blows up, and I need to sort of address it. But ultimately, we have our channels. I'm constantly on, Instagram, answering messages and trying to sort of communicate with people. And we've got the videos, and then the rest of the time I'm dealing with my staff, and I'm dealing with planning, and I'm dealing with all of the logistics of running multiple businesses. So I got this question actually in the last Q&As, like, how do you feel about being one of the famous people in tea? And it sort of feels a bit strange to me. I'm not like anti it. I'm not shying away from it. It's not like I'm trying to hide, oh no, that's terrible. I have no problem. And I'm quite happy to be, I'm very happy. Like, let's say it truthfully. I'm very, very happy to feel that other people have gained something from watching me, or, and hopefully have gained a passion in their life that is going to lead to positivity. I'm very, very proud of that. And I'm very, very happy about it. And I'm certainly not sort of trying to feign modesty on this, but I genuinely don't think about those other things, like, how much influence I may have, or I don't know.
Like, I don't know how you are, but like, I know I am easily my biggest critic. Like, I am
certainly, yeah,
to a degree where I should definitely lay off. Like, a therapist would definitely tell me that I'm too hard on myself. But it's like sometimes I have to do that to like keep myself in check, because sometimes if you get a couple of those really nice, someone reaches out to you and just says like, something you did really, really helped me. It's very easy for, at least with my character, my head can inflate, and I don't like that at all. Like, I never like being cocky. So I feel like I do that to try to just like suppress and keep myself kind of at a humbled level. Because, I mean,
Yeah. I mean, uh, I'm very, very thankful for all of the comments and messages that we receive. And we receive, gifts from, and it's just so beautiful, right? When you receive things popping up on your doorstep, when Aya was born, lots of gifts came, and we're constantly getting messages, and I'm very, very thankful for that. Um, but yeah, I'm with you. I don't like to feel that's going to somehow massage an ego in me. I don't like. It's not something that I feel comfortable with, and it's not. Again, it's not me
yep.
shying away from compliments. It's just
No.
I don't. And it's the same with criticism, and maybe this is a difference between you and me. But when I get criticism, I listen to it and I reflect upon it, of course, to see whether or not I did something wrong or something could be changed, or I can learn something about how I'm going to act in the future or whatever. So I try to take the construction out of it, from it, but I don't let me lose sleep, because I'm not claiming, and I don't think anybody can claim to be able to please everybody. And so, and that's fine and that's great. And I actually celebrate that fact. I think it would be weird if there were people that everybody liked. It's a bit strange, that way of thinking about the world. So I try to take a middle road where I don't let compliments, overly inflate an ego, and I don't let criticisms, really bug me or bring me down. And sometimes I'm less successful at that than others in both ways. Oftentimes after a Mayleaf session, when we do those big Mayleaf live sessions,
Yep.
and, it sort of is one of those buzzers that you get because, you're sitting chatting to, I don't know, 300-400 people, and they're all writing, and there's this thing that's happening. And then you switch off, and then you turn on your phone and it's blowing up with, and that sort of gives me a very small, very, very sort of minor experience of celebrity, because you're just seeing so much stuff being written in one concentrated period of time about you. And I have often found myself sort of at 2 a.m, just sort of scrolling through stuff. And I have to sort of go, wait, stop. Yeah. All that you did was drink some tea with some people. Just stop, go to bed. Although it's difficult to do because I'm usually wired on caffeine at that point. But yeah, I think it's important to try to take the middle road. And I think that actually, for no other reason than it makes for a happier life.
Yeah. No, easily. It was just like an interesting. I personally hadn't heard you answer that, and I knew that would be your answer, but I was interested in just hearing you answer it.
Sure.
What was the other? I also wanted to are you seeing any positive or negative trends over your way with tea? Like over here, I'm personally I'm starting to see an interesting movement towards not, this isn't just with tea, but people are demanding that the thing that they spend their money on is really, really worth. So not only is it worth their money, but that what they're getting is a top quality product. And a lot of the like cafes and stuff have started in little ways paying more attention to tea. And I think it's because the consumer is starting to demand less of the soda drinks and more of the tea drinks. Like even our local grocery stores over the past like 3 to 5 years, like we have one kind of localish big chain of grocery stores, and they have an aisle now of iced tea that is, I mean, it's, a lot of it is like the Lipton, Brisk, whatever, but they have like almost an aisle almost as big as the soda aisle. And it's, I can't help but think that it's just a nice little I feel like things are heading just in a good direction here, that people are wanting to appreciate tea a little bit more.
That's great. I mean, I can't say that I've noticed that on the ground in the UK. I've certainly, obviously, with all of the work that we do, and you know that all of the tea sellers, you know, the specialty tea sector online are doing, you can certainly see a lot more knowledge, and you can certainly see. I mean, it's a world
Yeah.
away from how it was 10 years ago. You know, 10 years
Yeah.
ago, you mentioned the word shung, and people would be like, "What?" Now you don't even have to qualify that it's a pu'er tea. You know, and so, you know, I've certainly noticed a huge jump in the level of knowledge overall. I'm sure, of course, there were plenty of people that knew about Shang Pua, but
Yeah.
just in sheer volume, you can see that there's so many more people involved. But I think that the point that you are making is a really interesting one, and something that I've been thinking about a fair amount is assessing quality. And that's always a very difficult thing to do because, first of all, it is, when it boils down to it, a personal thing. So, you know, you can't make black and white rules and say that's low quality and that's high quality, even though most of us would agree that, you know, single estate is, you know, but so you know that you've got the personal side of it, but what sort of annoys me, and I find that I really want to try to push back on, is this faux quality. You know, that whole thing of, is it something that is Instagrammable and shareable and, you know, soundbitey, and I see this battle going on. Battle may be too strong a word, but I can certainly see this tension developing, where you see that you've got a consumer who is intent on trying to find quality and trying to understand what quality is, and that's wonderful. But then they are being met with lots of red herrings, where you sense that they're being fed the wrong information. And, you know, I'm not obviously the arbiter of what the right and wrong information is, but in my mind, some of the information is not being disseminated properly, or it's been made into something that's very convenient to take a good picture, or, you know. And the concept of intrinsic quality, the concept of what is the quality of this product, be it tea or whatever, is so masked with so much hype that it can be difficult for those consumers to find their way. And I think that the only way that you can find your way in those situations is with efforts and with dedication and with a commitment to it. And one of the difficult things is that the soundbite generation that we are living in, where YouTube videos need to be 2 minutes, and this whole thing of you've got to appeal with a TikTok or a reel in 30 seconds, otherwise you're nothing. You know, I think that is adversely affecting the journey that people, the trajectory that some people who have the right intentions are finding themselves maybe going down cul-de-sacs and wrong turnings. So that's something that's sort of been on my mind a little bit, and how to address that.
Dude, I get that a lot, and it's especially in New York, man. Like, it's because in New York, every business, I think, has a little bit extra pressure to feel like there needs to be a marketing ad. They can't just have a good product. There's got to be a little jingle to it too.
Mm.
And so, like, that's how I started reaching out to producers, is that I was getting some good tea. I was finding some vendors that had really good tea, but I was spoiled very early on, and I got some key into really good tea, and my palate remembered it. Like, it hooked on to that Gaoshan oolong vibe. and it was like, oh, this is quality. This is what this is. My gut said, no, this is what it is. And so then I would go to like a tea room and they'd say, oh, you like, do you like oolong? And I'd say, yeah, oh, well, we have this excellent CG Chun that just came in that is just blah, 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 blah. And then you taste it and you're like, this is extremely rough and just, but
Yeah.
they're sitting there telling you it to your face, this is good. And
Yeah.
if you, and what I see is, at least from my experience to date, is that in my personal opinion, it's not good.
And I think that this, I was talking to a food journalist a few nights ago at this book launch. I'll shout out this book. It's called Eating to Extinction by Dan Saladino. It's really, really good book. I'm going to probably talk more about it, but it's all about trying to be very conscious about what you're eating and saving foods that are basically going extinct. There's one chapter about pu'er, which I helped with, so that's why I was invited to this book launch. Anyway, and I was talking about this to this food journalist, and I was saying, ultimately, it comes down to people trusting their own opinion. And you said it yourself just then, in my gut, I felt that this was good tea, right? And there's all kinds of things that you can sort of play with in terms of mental tricks and marketing, and you can play with sort of, trying to infer quality in other ways. But ultimately, it boils down to, do you trust your own opinion? Do you have enough trust in yourself to make your own opinion and not like stick to it, in a stubborn way? Of course, be able to be swayed and understand nuance, etc. But you need to trust in your own gut and trust in your own instinct. And I think that's exactly what I told this journalist. I said, that's ultimately what we should be teaching children,
Yep.
And she said it's interesting because there's a school program actually doing that, where they're actually going back to kids and going, try these. What do you think of it? Because, like, take away all the mental sort of gymnastics that is happening with the marketing people.
But even add in what parents do to that. Dude, I can't tell you how pissed I get inside when I'm in public and I see like a mother feeding like the kid wants to try something and they'll go, oh, no, this is bitter. You wouldn't like this. Like they'll say that about tea a lot.
Yeah.
They'll say, oh, no, this is, mommy likes, this is bitter. You wouldn't like it. Like basically they're just trying to be like, I think you're a little too young for tea. But instead of saying that, they just go, oh, no, it's bitter. You wouldn't like it. Yeah. So then it plants in their brain.
And that's where I think the danger is. If you bring up kids to basically tell them what they do and don't like, it's easy to like sugar, right?
Yeah.
It's not difficult to like sugar because it is so primal. It's just, sweet. And so, you're basically taking away people's exploration in terms of taste. If you do that, then they're just going to revert to the basics, the simple things, and I think that if there's anything that I hope that people take out of my, some would say, over the top tasting notes, is that just trust your own opinion and taste. Like ultimately, I'm not expecting anybody to taste exactly the same things that I taste in a tea. But
it's a huge bottom line of mine. I keep telling people, when the first time I ever had Shanlin Shi, one of the tasting notes that my gut told me was Fruity Pebbles. There must have been a citric note in there somewhere that was just similar to the citrus that they use in that cereal. And that's true. It wasn't foolish that I said that. And or I even tell people that, say you take a sip and you go, I got some evergreen, yeah. You know what? No, actually, you know what? I think it's more like pine. Yeah, pine. You weren't wrong for saying evergreen. You were good for saying that, because by saying that led you to, so it really is, I stress so hard to trust your gut, because that's my key to success. Is just
exactly. And that is what will make you choose quality over hype. And that's really what it boils down to. If you want to get to a point where consumers are picking things that have intrinsic quality to it and paying the money for that intrinsic quality versus paying over the top for something which isn't probably worth it, it has to boil down to, do you trust your own gut, or are you going to be told that this is a really good tea or a really good wine or a really good honey or a really good whatever, you know? And I think that that's the key skill that anybody who wants to get into any sort of appreciation needs to develop, rather than, oh, this famous person said that I should like this tea or, you know, chocolate or whatever it may be. And I see that in you, like from day one, from whenever we were, however long it's been, and let's not count the years, but you know, that you trust your gut. You're happy to say, no, don't like that. Yes, like that. And that is what leads to developing, I think, a taste for quality.
I also like to be proved wrong. Like,
Yeah.
like I was so anti roasted oolongs for so long. I was like, no, they're all garbage. They all taste like charcoal and nothing else. That was my hard opinion. And then I got contacted by a producer, and they were like, hey man, we love what you're doing. We were listening to what you were saying. And they go, you know what? For the most part, we actually agree with you. They're like, especially with like teas like Dong Ding, they're like, a lot of it that's on the market is just toasted beyond belief. They go, you know, we like to think that we do a couple different styles of roasting that might suit you a little bit better. Would you be, you know, do you want to try them? And I was like, oh, heck yeah. I mean, I loved how they confronted me about it, and I tasted their tea. And now, because of them, now I have a really nice affinity for roasted oolongs. It's just, you have to be presented with, like we were saying earlier, with real quality before you yourself can really say that this is good or not.
Exactly. But you can only work with with the experiences that you've had. So, you know, I have at times gone, no, I don't really stand with that tea, or it doesn't really suit my taste. And then, as you say, you find one that does. But the experience is still valid beforehand. You didn't like it before because you didn't like it. It's not like, oh, but Dong Ding is meant to be like one of Taiwan's most famous, you know, precious products. And, you know, how could, if you like Taiwanese tea, it's like, no, I just don't like it. Like that is important. I think it's very, very important. And instilling that confidence in kids. I mean, Ayana is probably a special case because she's surrounded. I mean, she's probably consumed more tea types than most adults in the Western world, you know, by the age of 2. And she's like, she loves bitter teas. She loves like hardcore shangpuers. She's like goes crazy. I mean, her favorite is like heavy aged shangpuers. She loves that stuff. I have to like fight her to take it away from her. She's like, more tea, more tea. I'm like, no, you can't drink anymore. Otherwise, you're not going to go to sleep, you know? And she loves olives, and she loves, you know, dark chocolate. You know, she's just deep into that stuff. But I think that's simply because as parents, you just let them try everything, you know, and they develop their own sort of opinions about things.
My nephew, who was 8, I believe 8 at the time, this just last year. Oh gosh, probably later than that. Anyways, my young nephew, he came and spent the night with Cassandra and I, and he wanted me to make him tea. He thinks Uncle Jeff is like super cool. So he like, I showed him my tea. I showed him my tea room, and he was like, "Can you make me some tea?" And I'm like, I guess. I mean, I could just make him a little bit. So I was like, I don't know. I just grabbed a couple tins, and I was like, here, just smell these, and you know, tell me which one smells good. I give him a couple Taiwanese oolongs, like a couple other things, and he goes, okay, I want this one, Uncle Jeff, and he hands me Xing Ren Zhang, and I was like, okay, this could go really well. Or this could go really sour, because there's a lot of adults that try dancong that are like, no, thank you.
Yeah.
I was seriously, I'm sitting there like carefully pouring the cup and then sitting back, and he takes a sip and his eyes widen. He loved it. We went to go play. We did a few steeps of it, and then we went to go play miniature golf. And on our way back home from miniature golf, he's like, "Uncle Jeff, can we have more tea?" And it was like 7 o'clock, so I was like, I'm sorry, man, no." But it was, he literally liked it so much to where he wanted more of it. Like,
Yeah,
and that would not be a tea that I would straight up just pick out and be like, kids will love that.
exactly. I mean, Ayana basically drinks whatever we're drinking. So she gets to try a whole load of different things. But it is remarkable how they just are drawn to, well, at least in my experience, drawn to tea. And it's not just her. Like, she has a friend who comes over. The friend's like, tea, tea, tea. They associate our place with tea because they know they're going to get it, and they really, really enjoy it. So yeah, I think that we may fall into traps as societies where we sort of think that you shouldn't like something until a certain age, or that think that taste comes with like a lot of sort of experience and knowledge, but it is a gut thing.
Acquired taste.
Exactly.
I hate that phrase.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying that the theory isn't
No.
applicable in work,
Yeah.
but like, I hate hearing that about anything, about tea, about food, because if I really take that and break it down to what they're talking about, I'm like, no, it's not like that at all.
Yeah, and the word acquired, as if it's somehow you've got to learn it, or it's somehow given to you only through long sort of study or something, is sort of like, no, taste is fundamentally something that is instinctive. And yes, you can get used to a taste and then grow to appreciate it. But yeah, there is a certain snobbery around taste that I think needs to be dispelled. And you see it a lot. I don't know how you find when you do tastings in groups, but it can get very edgy. It can get very sort of tense because nobody wants to open up with how they're not used to that whole thing of like, just shoot from the hip. It doesn't matter if it's wrong, and it doesn't matter, as you said, if you then correct it or if it leads to a discussion which then you go, oh yeah, that's what it is. It's not that. That's the whole point. And a lot of people get scared off by it.
Yeah, I super stress to people. I'm like, just talk. Like, the tea is just, that's the fun thing about this, is that is just go with it. Like, it's, I think that I also think that a lot of people are like, oh, people, like, again, acquired taste with like single origin tea. My honest experience has been, if you have a honest, high quality, very well made tea, and you make it right with the right utensils, the right steeping time, the right temperature, and not with a ton of showmanship, but you present it to the person in the correct way. I think there'd be a couple cases of people that honestly didn't like the tea, but I would say the other people are just people that aren't honest with themselves, because I really think most teas at their essence, even in just, if it's just for a one sip experience, people, if it's a good tea, will enjoy it.
Yeah, I mean, I would hope so. And I think that when you say the showmanship thing, I think really what it boils down to is demonstrating in sort of a non-verbal way a certain reverence for what you are serving. Because it has to be treated with some respect. I have the same experience. It's very rare that you sit down with somebody and make them tea that you love and they don't like it. It happens. Usually I find that it happens because the taste reminds them of something in their childhood or something that they just didn't like as a kid, and it sort of triggers a memory in them. And it's not actually like a sort of baseline, oh, I don't like this taste. It's like, oh, it reminds me of that. And I like can't smell that or look at it because it just, sends me off from a memory.
there's a certain look that you can see in their eyes when they take the sip and decide they don't like it. And when I see that, I try not to bombard the person, but I try to address them right then and go like, what didn't you like about it? And not like making fun of them, just being like, hey, let's work at this. What didn't you like about it? Was it too malty? Was it too texture? Was it too rough? And then sometimes if you can help them just identify what they didn't like, it gets them to actually accept it. Like,
Well, yeah, and I think that the act of tasting itself is a joy, and even if you don't like the taste, it's an experience. It's like, I don't know, like watching a horror film or something. Maybe not as extreme as that, but this idea of separating because a lot of people, this is something that I've noticed with quite when you do tastings, and I've done, as you have, over the decades, I've done many tastings with many people, and you can see that look. I know that look exactly. That sort of like look, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that a lot of the time, when I have sort of drilled down into it, it's more about they feel that they need to make a judgment as to whether or not they like or dislike something immediately. Is it a yes or a no? And really, like what you're saying is, no, let's just explore the taste, right? And let's explore, how you felt about it, whatever, or what it reminds you of. But the tasting experience should really take priority over the judgment of it. The judgment comes later. The tasting is the joy. And even if I taste a tea, okay, all right, there are exceptions. If I taste a tea which I just think is just awful, like bad quality, but if you taste a tea which is it's a tea that's that some people love and you don't like it, it's still an engaging, interesting, enjoyable experience, even if you ended up saying, I wouldn't buy that tea, And I think that's something that also is people are very quick to try to decide whether or not this is something they like or don't like, they identify with or they don't identify with, versus just going, did you enjoy the tasting experience of it rather than the taste of it?
Yeah, you're right. I think they hang up, like their first decision is they think they have to say whether it's high quality or low quality, when really it's just, how was the experience for you?
Exactly. Yeah.
What happened?
Yeah, exactly.
We are just coming to a nice little closure point. I believe we're up to our hour.
Too quick.
I know. And it was so nice catching up. Because it was, like I said, it's been a little bit since I had just had a nice longer form conversation with you, and then obviously to get you on the podcast was a must have. So, I mean, people obviously know where to find you. I'll add all the links below. I'll get a link for that book you were talking about. I'll add that in the description as well.
Yeah,
I bet you. Because I'm sure there's going to be a couple people that are going to ask about that. So
yeah,
I'll include that as well. But over everything, very happy to hear that everybody is healthy in one piece and continuing forward. I appreciate you immensely as a friend, as someone that I look as a mentor. But I just could not myself express enough how important I think you are to the tea world, and more than pleased that you're cool with me being in that world as well.
Hey, we're all in this together, like it or not, Jeff. We're all in this together. We got to keep pushing that tea culture forward, and I'm so thankful for you to invite me on your show.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you again. We'll be in touch. This will come out on Friday, and anybody who has questions, comments, subscribe, both Unity TV, Mayleaf.
Yeah, click, all
the things. So thank you, Don. Cheers to you, and continue to be well.
You too, Jeff. Thanks.